Hello and welcome to the House of Wellness. I'm Luke Darcy. Always great to be standing alongside Joe Stanley, Jacqui Felgate, Dr. Nick Carr. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Did you know that there are around 8 billion people currently on the planet, and that is tipped to peak at 10 billion by around 2080?
8 billion people, and I seem never to be able to get a tradie. What's that about?
Well, we do need more of them, but once we do hit our population peak in the next 60 years or so, then the population is expected to dip.
And we know that the population is ageing, but at the same time, an amazing 250 babies are born every minute of every day.
Remarkable.
So in today's show, we're going to look at health through the ages, from birth right through to the golden years.
Well, Book Week's just wrapped up here in Australia. I'd never heard of Book Week as a kid. This is massive now.
It really is. I loved Book Week for Willow. We made some fantastic costumes together, and we had an only DIY policy. You're not allowed to buy costumes, and I must admit, on more than one occasion, we won Best Costume in the parade, which I still knock myself sick for.
Book Week is a nightmare in my family. I hate it.
Well, this year's theme is reading is magic. And we know that reading to kids it's just the best thing for them, not just for language development, but also for developing things like empathy and emotional awareness.
Well, reading together is also a brilliant way of bridging the age gap, which is why a terrific program is bringing primary school age students into aged care facilities with really rewarding results for all.
Many children aren't seeing their grandparents like in the olden days, and grandparents want to see children, and it delights them and brings joy into their life, and it creates purpose.
24 years ago, teacher Anne-Maria Antonio led her grade 3s from Wattle Park Primary along the main road to a shiny new building next door, a retirement village called Cameron Close.
It was a brand new building with a grand piano, a billiard table, and we were allowed to wander around. And yes, there was the reading program, but there was so much more. These people had so much to share.
Good to see you. Come on, come and sit down.
With a limited budget and a focus on tapping into the local community, Anna Maria saw an opportunity to bridge the gap between old and young with a weekly reading program.
Hello, Audrey. Hello, Claire.
A program that's still going on today.
Okay, let's go.
One morning, a cat saw a bird in a tree. Hello, bird, she said.
Now, this story is all about a new bed.
The program is more than a reading program, and yes, we call it the Cameron Close Reading Program, but it's always been so much more than a reading program. It's a connection with our neighbours. It's a connection of the younger and the older coming together and sharing the love of life.
Some money.
That's right.
They often say that it takes a village to raise a child. And my view is that it actually takes children to make a village like this, which is for retired people, healthy. So you could say that most of us have got hearing aids in. And
Judy Dunn is the coordinator for the program at Cameron Close.
How I would do a program like this was to call them listeners, because children are not listened to enough, I believe, in our society. They listen a lot. They listen to TV, they listen on their iPads and whatnot. They don't get listened to enough. And so I said, how about we call you listeners? So the word volunteer has never been used. So all the literature from then on was listeners. And it took off.
Now, what books have you bought today?
I got them.
Not only did it take off, it flourished.
What was he sitting in?
A wheelchair.
He was sitting in a wheelchair.
It's a learning experience that goes both ways, an education that extends far beyond books to special relationships that can't be quantified.
Right. When you get to my age, there's not a lot of things you can do. And it's nice to feel that you're healthy and that you're not useless.
I think in the last few weeks we're seeing some lovely connections between the listeners and the children, and the discussion's getting broader, which is what we're promoting. So the connection is strong both ways, I believe, because the children talk about the listeners and the listeners certainly talk about the children.
Have you seen meerkats before?
No.
No? Oh, yeah, we talk about lots of different things, and the books sort of lead to different questions. Gary was reading a book about elephants last week, and I'd just come back from South Africa, so I showed him some pictures of some elephants.
We had a discussion on what life was like when I was young, which was a long time ago. And they asked me the questions and I answered them. Fancy.
Oh, the listeners gain so much from the reading program. They see the growth that the children make with their reading, but they get to know their personalities. And they also gain so much joy in the relationship that they develop with them and the innocence that there is, because the children just say it as it is. So they'll say, "What's that thing growing on your face?"
And from one of the little students I had the other day, she said, "Do I mind if she drew me?" So she drew this picture, and I said, "That's lovely." She said, "No, I couldn't fit in all your wrinkles."
I like reading to Betty, and I also really like reading, and it's good because I get to learn. The mud is too sticky.
It was sticky.
What began as a simple reading program has developed into a way of life where age has no boundaries.
And I look at the smiles on the children, the smiles on the listeners, all the very serious listening that's going on and the very serious reading. But it's true interaction, intergenerational interactions that are healthy and warming and fun.
Louder!
Was that loud enough?
What a great thing for the kids and the oldies, Das. And I have to say, reading with my daughter Willow was my number one thing to do with her. And now she really loves reading and books.
And loneliness and isolation are a huge problem globally, Joe, particularly with the elderly. So what a great idea to connect the young and the elderly in such a simple way.
You know, some experts equate the health impacts of loneliness with smoking 15 cigarettes a day, which is absolutely shocking. And, you know, of course, pets are another great way of combating loneliness. They bring companionship and comfort, and, of course, they get you out and about.
Yeah, Joe, not everyone in aged care can have access to a pet. So in the US, they're deploying robotic pets into aged care homes with some great success.
Yes, thousands of animatronic cats and dogs have been loaned for free to seniors right across the country. And, you know, they're bringing great companionship for those who have them, but also connecting them with others who are really curious about these unique pets. Can you call them pets?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? As you know, Joe, we lost our beautiful blue staffy Dennis not too long ago, just before his 9th birthday, and still lots of tears going on in our house on the back. It was very hard to replace that unconditional love you get from connecting with an animal, isn't it?
I know, that is such a great loss for your family, beautiful Dennis. He was such a beautiful boy for you, and they have such a very special place in our families, our dogs especially. But the great thing about dogs, of course, is they hassle us to go for a walk, and exercising outside is one of the best things we can do, especially when it comes to bone health. You know, I truly believe that life is about perspective. You know, of course, we have really, really challenging times, some very down days. But if you can find just one thing to be positive about, it can just shift your day.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's always good to be a glass half full person and to constantly look at gratitude and be grateful for things. And for me, it's just good health, and in particular, the health of your children.
Yeah, I love the idea of being glass half full, Jack, something I'm really passionate about. We know that practicing gratitude can improve your mood and even your outlook, but new research out of the US is actually suggesting that a positive outlook can prolong your life as well.
That's exactly right, Das. Researchers from the Harvard Institute looked at the phenomenon of gratitude, and they found some pretty amazing things.
Yes, they found that people who more frequently notice and feel grateful for the positive things in their life can be less likely to die prematurely. Amazing. So get your gratefulness on, everyone.
As I said, I'm just grateful for the health of my children. But you know what else comes with kids? It's you worry about them, and I worry about my kids a lot.
And Jack, advances in apps and technology means we can communicate with our kids more than we've ever had in the past and even keep an eye on them like we haven't before. But are tracking apps on our kids doing more harm than good? Let's have a look.
Geography.
Oh, really? What did you do in geography?
As their daughter Emily braced herself for the nerve-wracking first day of high school, Gabe and Maria Carey were struck with a few anxious thoughts of their own.
Couldn't choose out of them, so
Okay,
I brought them
we've
both.
taken her to every event. We've driven her to school for the last 6 years, and we felt really uncomfortable sending her on the bus to school for the first time.
So we Googled some different devices or different applications we could use to help her, and one of the ones that we found was Life 360.
Okay, so at the moment we can see that Emily is on the bus.
So there are some parents who would say that monitoring your kids in this way is an invasion of privacy. What do you say to that?
I think I find it quite an odd question when you talk about privacy, because you think about all the TikTok, all these other apps out there that are undermining privacy, and kids are unaware of the unintended consequences of some of these applications. We're talking about an application that tells us where our children are.
So she's only 7 kilometres away from home.
If our children aren't in the right place because they've missed a bus stop or something, we know where they are. To me, I don't think that's a privacy issue. That's a safety mechanism.
I just think if the child's living under our house, under our roof, we are responsible for them.
Yeah.
I'm not concerned about privacy until they leave the home.
The Careys aren't an anomaly. A 2019 survey from the Royal Children's Hospital reported that 1 in 5 parents use location tracking apps with their kids. And in the years since, the popularity of surveillance software like Life 360 has only grown stronger.
It's just so easy to do now. So for parents to look at the app or get notifications about where their child's moving, whether they're driving in the car or not, but it does come with some risk factors as well that I think parents should be aware of.
As a senior lecturer in digital ethics at the University of Melbourne, Dr Simon Coughlin co-authored a recent paper examining parents' attitudes towards tracking technologies.
Some parents who do use the technology have various ways of rationalising it or talking about it. So they don't like the terms like surveillance or even location tracking. They prefer to describe it as things like, I'm checking in on my child. And one of the reasons for that is they might say, I'm not constantly looking at where my child is going. On the other hand, they do have the ability to do that.
So what are the ethical concerns around parents monitoring their kids in this way?
Well, I think it's the ability to track kids' location in fine detail could feed into over-controlling parenting, overzealous parenting or helicopter parenting. The other thing is just the normalisation of data collection in society. So these kids are growing up with tracking applications. And so when they're faced with all kinds of tracking and surveillance, there is a concern, I think, that they might become too used to it. And that could lead to further and further encroachment of tracking and monitoring and surveillance in our lives.
So we are away from your home. It's a little ways over there, but your parents can tell where you are because of Life 360. How does that feel?
Pretty cool and interesting.
Interesting. It's a very clever app.
Yeah.
But does it feel okay to you that your parents can check in on where you are?
Sometimes.
Sometimes yes and sometimes no.
Yes.
What don't you like about the app?
Well, sometimes I don't like them looking at me on it because it doesn't feel right sometimes.
Feels a bit creepy, maybe? Is that a word you would use?
Yeah. At first I was a bit nervous because I wasn't really sure on what it could do and why they wanted it, and then I'm starting to understand why.
Why is it?
To keep me safe.
Would you feel a bit nervous going and catching the bus if you didn't have Life 360?
Definitely.
We absolutely want our kids to be free and to be able to make choices for themselves and to learn through mistakes. That's a fundamental part about growing up. The thing with Life 360 is we found with our kids growing up, and I'm not sure if it's media or if it's the world has changed, but they're quite anxious and they feel concerned about their own safety. And so they may not make those choices, or they may not be willing to go out on a bus by themselves because they're just scared. So in fact, it's not necessarily taking away their freedom, it's in some ways giving them more freedom because they've got this little safety net behind them. And kids at 13, they need a safety net.
Maria, do you find it feeds any anxiety in yourself by constantly checking the app?
That's a good question. I'm an anxious person anyway, so I feel that with the app it's given me a sense of calm and ease because I don't have to be calling her. I know that the app's going to tell me if there's a change to her situation at a time that shouldn't be. And so, to me, it's helping me with my anxiety, if anything.
Many users of these apps share the view that they help calm the nerves of children and parents alike. But cyber psychologist Jocelyn Brewer warns that over time, these apps can have the opposite effect.
We know that lots of young people are experiencing higher levels of depression and anxiety, for instance, and that anxiety can just be from needing that regular feedback and not having that confidence and the experiences to be able to kind of traverse their lives the way that we might have in the 80s and 90s without, you know, a high-powered computing device in the palm of our hand. So swings and roundabouts, and we've got to look at the tool and then look at the context that we're using it in and then find that really healthy balance so that we can reap the benefits but really try and avoid some of the pitfalls around over-reliance, you know, anxiety, just that complete lack of ability to problem solve unless we, you know, reach out to that trusted adult for almost everything. But the real question is, when is your kid old enough not to be tracked? And I have had, you know, young people who are way past school age and very much adults whose parents are still keeping an eye on their movement in a, I would say, potentially controlling and unhelpful way.
While many teens do push back on being tracked as they reach adulthood, not everyone has a problem with it. 18-year-old Sissy Crawford has been sharing her whereabouts with her dad, Matt, since she was 13, and she doesn't plan to stop until she moves out of home.
I don't mind my parents using the app. I think it gives them peace of mind, which is helpful to me as well. If they know I'm safe, they're more willing to let me do things. The only reason it would stop me is if what I want to do independently is put myself into a dangerous situation or go somewhere where I know I'm not allowed to go. But as long as I'm doing things that I'm allowed to do, then I'm free to be as independent as I want.
I understand that some people might think that it's somehow invasive or could be seen as stalking, but I think a lot of that has to do with the way that you actually use the app. We are quite laissez-faire with Sissy in many ways that other parents might not be. Boyfriends can stay over at our house, sleep over and so forth. So it comes down to just, if you're overly strict and authoritarian, this could be, again, used to enhance that or actually make that worse. And we don't believe in that. That's not how we live.
If you have a great relationship with your child and they're very trusting of their parents, then they might not have a problem at all with the use of these location tracking apps. On the other hand, some kids do want to explore and experiment on their own. So I think the key to the ethics of it is to really have a good conversation with the child. And the parents can sort of ask themselves some questions too. What's my child like? Is this going to interfere with my relationship with the child or not? And is it really worth it? Like, is it actually making my kids any safer, or is it really just giving me a sense of reassurance that doesn't make them safe at all?
What do you like about the app?
I like how if I'm on it, I can see where they are. Because sometimes I'm like on my phone, and then when I know they're coming back, I just go straight to homework or...
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because you're clever. You're using the app for good, I think. So I didn't realise this was a controversial thing because my daughter and I were totally fine with her being tracked. She's happy for me to be tracked. I'm happy being tracked. We're tracking everyone in our household. But what do you think, Darcy?
I had an objection to it around the idea that you're tracking our kids. I pictured myself as a teenager and would have been hard no chance, you need that freedom. But our daughter was the one that put it, and she was tracking me. I didn't realise and complaining that I wasn't picking her up on time. So now that you've got younger kids, I can sort of see the advantage, but it's divisive, this one.
I actually love this app. And I tell you what, it actually gives your kids more freedom because now I allow my daughter to say, go to the shops and I know where she is, so I'm less worried. I know where she's walking because you can actually track even whether they're walking or they're running or they're in a car. So you don't need to worry about them. You know exactly where they are. And I think for an 11 or 12-year-old, it's ideal because they want that freedom and you're not quite sure whether you want to give it to them.
I did, though, at one point have to call my daughter. She was on the tram and caught it the wrong way. And I rang her and said, babe, you're on the wrong tram. And I thought to myself, if that was me at her age, I would have had to just nut that out and made that problem a solution and work that out. And I'm wondering if I'm taking that kind of learning away from her, the problem solving.
And I worked it out when Santa started yelling at me, going, why have you stopped? And I'm like, just getting a coffee. Am I allowed? Pick me up now.
This is what I do with my husband because I use Find My and I say, babe, it's time to leave Bunnings. It's enough.
It's time to leave the pub.
A few adults have come unstuck on this app as well. Time for a break. One of Australia's great entertainers, Bonnie Anderson, shares her style tips that help make her a star. Having active and engaged grandparents, Nick, is an absolute godsend for those families that are lucky enough to have that support. And congratulations to you. November, you're about to become a grandparent for the first time.
Oh, I'm so excited. When Isabel told us, I just couldn't get over it. So I've been waiting for this for a long time. But, you know, something like 2 in 5 Australians get help from their grandparents, and it can make a huge difference. It means maybe mums can get back to work a bit sooner or the parents have more time to themselves. Anyway, I don't mind. I just cannot wait.
Good news for you. There are some tax breaks for full-time carers as grandparents, but largely that economy is driven by goodwill.
Yeah, and Sweden have actually been the trailblazers in this space because they were one of the first people to bring in paid parental leave for mums and dads. And now they've got some new laws, which means that they can actually transfer that paid leave to other caregivers like grandparents, which I think would be a great idea.
They're ahead of the curve often in Sweden. I like the way they go about it. Time to catch up with Luke Hines, who's discovered a club in Melbourne. It's all about connection and trying something new at the same time.
It's scary. It is really scary to rock up to something where you don't know anyone and you don't know what you're doing, but we're all doing that. Even I'm doing that. I'm rocking up not knowing who's going to come and not knowing exactly what I'm going to do, but it's about being able to do that with other people and realising you're not alone in that space.
Penny Jordan loves adventures and she also loves people. So 8 years ago, she combined both to create the First Timers Club, a club that's all about connection and making real and lasting social change.
I think it's so important, one, for confidence, just to be able to try new things and realise that there's so much out there in the world, but two, for connection. Like social media, you can't really connect on it unless you're actually going out and meeting people. And I think that's what this is about. It's about getting people together physically.
Lots of things get easier as we get older, but making new friends isn't necessarily one of them. As a kid, it's easy to make friends at the school, in the playground, but as an adult, not so much. I think it comes down to forgetting the art of play and the importance of simply having fun.
Yes. Can everyone look at me and wave?
All these people were strangers, all in search of bringing some spontaneity into their lives and to share experiences with other people.
So basically what we are is a group of people who meet up regularly to try new things.
All right, now when it comes to new things, are we thinking restaurants, different types of workouts? What are we doing?
We're kind of doing everything. So we're doing dance classes, we're doing bouldering, we swam in the Yarra, we've gone to a bike rave. There is interest as well though to do things like pottery and, you know, art classes. So we're going to try and keep some variety in that, but it is nice to get out and about.
I want to track back a little bit though. Where was it born? How did you get the idea?
So the concept actually came about a few years ago. A few friends and I were a bit sick of always waiting for the next big adventure and waiting to go overseas for something. So we decided we'd seek out things in Melbourne that were free and easy to do. So, for example, we went salsa dancing, we did laughter yoga, we did Tai Chi, and it was all really free and accessible and fun. And we've now picked it back up again recently and invited everyone to come along.
No activity is off the table, as long as it's not too expensive. The basic premise is to have fun, meet new people, do challenging things, and maintain a sense of play. By joining others, it encourages singles to brave up and experience things they wouldn't do alone. And it's going gangbusters. What started with 5 people a few months ago has exploded on social media.
We went to bouldering with 50 people last week, and that was me capping it at 50 to say, you know, that's all I can kind of deal with. But we've gone from, 200 followers on social media to 15,000 in about a month. So we're trying to now deal with the scale of that and seeing how we can get everyone involved.
And if you're thinking, surely they'll run out of things to do, well, that's never going to happen. Like this week, I'm going to a class to learn how to master a handstand with Xanthi Blaze.
You're like, wait, I got it. I saw one of Penny's posts when they were before they got that huge following, and she was trying to help one of her friends up into a handstand, and they were talking about how they're the First Timers Club and how they're looking for it to be accessible for everyone. And so I just offered them a handstand course. Because why not? Because that's so much fun, and they were trying to do a handstand, so I thought at least I should help them get there. Yeah, you can. Quacks are encouraged, absolutely.
Your handstand course is 3 weeks. After 3 weeks, are people being able to do it completely confidently, like the perfect handstand?
Hell no. Absolutely not. No, I never promised that. What the 3 weeks does is it's kind of long enough to provide people with a toolkit that you can take away and practice by yourself and film it and see what you look like upside down and see if your legs are where you think they are when you're upside down, and then keep practicing all of the drills to build the strength, stability and confidence. Yes. Yes. That's it. Yeah, it is.
Are you finding people it's lifting their spirits, they're building better friendships?
Oh, absolutely. I find that every time I go to an event, everyone comes away on a bit of a high. We're excited to be there, we're excited to meet people. People are looking for connection. It's just hard to find the avenues to actually connect.
And as an event finishes, do you often see people squirrel off in their own little groups?
Yeah, you do. I think as well, a lot of our events, we squirrel off together, which is nice. So we might go bouldering, but then some of us will all go out for coffee, or, you might go to a dance class and then we go out for dinner. And that's not an organised thing, that just happens naturally.
You have to walk, 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 push through one hand, then the other. Go, 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 go. Yes!
Is there anything you're looking forward to doing most with the First Timers Club?
More of this. Yeah, more of this. Nothing specific. I like that it surprises me and I don't know what I'm going to join next.
It's just a bunch of cool people trying new things, and there's always something happening in Melbourne, so it was really good to see a bunch of people to do it with.
Ready, set, go.
Has there been any standout friendships or connections made that you can remember?
Yeah, I think mostly for me. So it's been an excuse for me to invite people to things. I made a friend at a party, for example, and it feels a bit awkward saying, hey, do you want to go out for coffee, even though we really got on? But instead we're saying, hey, do you want to come to pole dancing? Or hey, do you want to come and do a burlesque class? And that in itself is so exciting and sparkly that you can't say no.
There's no one asked me if I want to go pole dancing.
You can, it's an option.
I'm in.
Some medications require specific dosing schedules, like antibiotics, for example. They require different dosing intervals to make sure that the drug level in the body is enough to fight the infection. And taking medications at the same time each day for chronic conditions, that helps with consistency. Some people are really concerned about missing doses. Hot tip, set an alarm, have a pill box, and if you still forget, take it as soon as you remember. But if it's closer to the next dose, miss it and return to your usual dosing schedule. Most importantly, don't ever double up. I'm always on my phone, maybe a little too much, but that's for another topic. So I'm all for an alarm as a reminder. But the beauty of a pill box is that it actually tells you whether you've taken it. If you're taking multiple medications, the labelled versions with the weekdays are great because you know what you've taken and when.
Dr. Nick, I think technology is a bit of a double-edged sword. You know, it helps us connect, but sometimes it limits human interaction and face-to-face contact.
Well, the bots really are taking over the world, Joe, because earlier we heard how robot pets are being used to ease loneliness for old people in the United States. And now we've got robot waiters, we've got self-driving cars, we've got delivery drones. And do you know what? There was even a recent case where a humanoid robot called Sophia addressed a meeting of the United Nations.
Those humanoid robots are so realistic, it's actually creepy. And now scientists in Japan have found a way to attach living skin to robot faces, which means they have much more realistic smiles and expressions. I don't like the sound of this.
It's creepy, but absolutely amazing, Joe. And it's artificial, it's made in the lab, but from living cells. And the scientists say this skin can actually repair itself. I mean, whoa! But its use isn't just for bots, because the researchers say this is going to help us with things like ageing and also skin repair for surgery, and particularly things like cosmetic surgery.
I mean, I love that. I don't like the Terminator side of things, but that is an amazing
I think if I'm going to get a human smile, I want it from a real person like you.
Thank you. Well, I'm happy to prioritise caring for human skin on human faces as well, which is exactly what Jade is doing with the help of star entertainer Bonnie Anderson.
Bonnie, we've watched you grow up from a 12-year-old winning Australia's Got Talent, then acting and singer-songwriter. Tell us, what does beauty mean to you?
Beauty, to me, it really means what's on the inside. 100% internally, if I'm feeling healthy, if I'm feeling strong, that's what makes me feel beautiful.
I know the last few months have been quite challenging. You've just undergone throat surgery. Tell us how the last few months have really tested you.
It was terrifying, to be honest. I mean, my voice is everything to me. It's, you know, my life, my career. Came out the other side, it was okay. I was able to just really recover and have supportive people around me. And then I spent some time in LA and I have written new music, which has just been so nice to kind of overcome that point in time and then be able to create again. So I'm feeling really good that I've overcome that time in my life.
Bad Advice is your new single.
Yes.
Bad Advice, we've all had it. Where does that come from?
Totally. Look, this song it really is about, past mistakes, past fears, and not letting them define you and just being your stronger self and overcoming all of that stuff. Like, here we are. It is a new chapter.
Yes. Circling back to beauty, whether you're touring, whether you're on stage, you really have to look good all the time. What are some tips or tricks you've learned while travelling on the road that you've applied to your makeup routine?
You know what? I'm pretty simple when it comes to beauty. I just like to have a clean face. I love a mascara.
Yeah.
And I feel like I do love to just make my eyebrows nice and fluffy. That's my thing.
Yeah.
I really don't like it to take long. I'm a mum. I've got to get out of the house. I've got to get to work. So just keep it simple.
You have me here. I'm a makeup artist. What is something you would love to know about makeup, a skill or just a question?
The one thing I love to do is really make my eyes pop. The blue in the eyes, I like when they're bright. So what's the best thing for that?
So that's the most Googled questions.
Really?
Is like what shadow suits your eye colour.
Yeah.
So I'm going to show you now exactly how and what tones will make a pop.
It sounds good. Let's do it.
So I'm just going to sketch out your lid and use this amazing shadow stick as a really good primer on the eye. Here we want it to be elongated and then connect it to the lid in little strokes. And then across the bottom, you can just really sketch it out. Doesn't need to be neat. Now I'm just going to buff in a more bronzing colour so there's no harsh lines. And it works really well with this palette. So now to add a little bit of depth and richness to the eye, I'm using a really beautiful, rich chocolate brown liner, no black. And now we're just going to add a few coats of a fluffy mascara to finish the look. How are you feeling?
I love it. I feel alive. I always feel beautiful when you do my makeup.
That's because we have a history and I've done it since you were, what, 18?
It's my moment.
When it comes to holistic health, we can certainly be inspired by other places and cultures, utilising their unique plant powers. One of the best from our friends in Southeast Asia is curcumin. Used in traditional Ayurvedic medicine for centuries, curcumin is the natural compound featured in plants of the Curcuma longa species, commonly referred to as turmeric. This active is responsible not only for turmeric's golden colour, but also its impressive health properties, acting as an anti-inflammatory and antioxidant. Incorporating curcumin into our lives is relatively simple, as turmeric is a spice related to ginger, adding flavours to curries, roast vegetables and warm beverages. That said, curcumin itself has poor bioavailability, meaning it's not easily absorbed by the body. Pairing it with a pepper helps to promote its bioavailability. You can also find curcumin in supplement form. Fusion Health Curcumin Advanced has a new and improved tablet formula with curcumin, of course, plus clinically trialled extract of Boswellia, another Ayurvedic herb. This combo helps relieve inflammation and symptoms of mild osteoarthritis, such as mild joint pain and stiffness. Also included is bioperine from black pepper to help the absorption of curcumin. And finally, ginger, another anti-inflammatory ingredient to help support healthy blood circulation. Keeping moving and active is key to our physical and mental well-being. And we are lucky to rely on the best of both worlds, ancient wisdom and modern medicine, to help us do so.
Das, it's no secret that we love our animals, but do the animals love us back?
Well, when you think in Australia, we coexist with some of the deadliest creatures on Earth. Not the duck that just flew over your head then, Joe, but saltwater crocodiles, the deadliest snakes on Earth, our sharks, the box jellyfish. Not a lot of love coming from those creatures.
No, and there's also the lesser-known animals that top the world's deadliest animal list, and that, at number one, is that very annoying little insect, the mosquito.
When you think about that tiny little insect carrying malaria, they say it's responsible for up to 800,000 deaths a year from a tiny mosquito.
Oh, but wait, there's more. There's also parasites like roundworm and the tiny little tsetse fly.
Positive story we've got for you. When you think about us humans and our impact, we might be frail compared to other predators, but with ongoing wars and our use of weapons, we cause more than our own fair share of destruction as well.
All the more reason to be kinder to ourselves and each other, and then one of the best ways of doing that is to nurture by creating beautiful food, and no one knows that more than Zoe Bingley-Pullen.
Call me old school, but I love following a recipe from a cookbook, particularly when it's one I've written. And while it's rare that the end result matches the pictures exactly, I guarantee that my ginger satay chicken salad does taste as good as it looks. First up, the turmeric cauliflower base. I'm frying instead of roasting. It's quicker and infuses the cauliflower with all the punchy flavours. Cover and cook for 2 minutes, then drizzle with lime juice to tenderise and add zest. Whilst the cauliflower cooks, onto the chicken. Ginger always makes itself known, so I'm keeping the other marinade ingredients simple, yet strong enough to match up to it. Cooking with coconut oil gives the chicken a crispy texture while sealing on all the moisture. 5 minutes each side should do the trick. Assemble the salad with the cauliflower alongside some milder flavours. What they lack in taste, they make up for in contrasting textures. The peanut satay sauce is the hero, tying all the elements together. Peanut butter and honey, a match made in heaven. Whisk until creamy and top with extra seeds. One of the reasons why I wrote this cookbook is to show that salads don't need to be tasteless or dull. And success really does taste good.
Alzheimer's disease is the most common form of dementia, a degenerative condition whereby neural connections in the brain are damaged due to a build-up of toxic proteins amyloid and tau. This results in impaired memory and cognitive decline. An early stage of Alzheimer's disease is called mild cognitive impairment, a condition affecting an estimated 500,000 Australians. While the cause is unknown, the likelihood of developing Alzheimer's disease increases with age, but it's not a normal part of the ageing process. You should always consult with your doctor if you are concerned about any symptoms, such as more serious and more frequent forgetting of names or places. Backed by 20 years of research, Suvanade is a medical drink that nutritionally supports memory function in the early stages of Alzheimer's disease, including mild cognitive impairment. It's been proven to slow memory and cognitive decline by an average of 60% in early Alzheimer's disease when taken daily for 3 years. Suvanade contains a unique combination of nutrients, including DHA, EPA, B vitamins and antioxidants, formulated to support the growth of brain connections. Unfortunately, there's no cure for Alzheimer's disease, but awareness, early diagnosis, and lifestyle factors such as the right nutrition are important to help maintain our quality of life for as long as possible.
Of course, we know how important it is to monitor our physical and mental well-being, but the latest fad to be going off online is keeping tabs on our aura.
I know all about this. It's very important amongst the Gen Z and TikTok generation. So it's called Aura Points, and basically young people rank their life and experiences on a sliding scale to determine how cool they are.
I find this very bizarre, Jack.
I bet you do.
It's slightly weird. And my understanding is, so if you ask someone out on a date and they say yes and you get their phone number, you get 100 Aura points. Is that correct?
Yes, right. But on the flip side, if you trip when you're walking into a room, or maybe you walk into a light post, that's going to take up to 1,000 points off your aura. If you're walking into a light post, it's going to do a lot more than just for your aura, I'm going to suggest.
It's all just a bit of fun, not to be taken too seriously, but according to the Wall Street Journal, hashtags with aura points have jumped 378% in the mid part of this year. And the phrase is cropping up everywhere, even amongst uncool adults, just not this one.
Spare me.
I'm not sure evolution's working. I think we're actually going back the other way. And I know I would classify as a very uncool adult on any scale. On that note, I've had enough. Time to exit the House of Wellness today. Thanks to Dr. Nick Carr, to Jacqui Felgate and to Joe Stanley.
Check out the House of Wellness Radio every Sunday with Luke Hines and Gerald Quigley.
Big thanks as always to our friends at Chemist Warehouse. It's bye for now.